Its very existence is a meme, a debate, one of the greatest questions mankind has ever asked. Do pineapples belong on pizza? The general view from the most outspoken people on the internet is a resounding no. But that doesn't stop the fact that pineapples are one of the most popular items on pizza. And there's a great deal of demand that prompts most major pizzerias in the English-speaking world to add them on their list of toppings, making them one of the most controversial toppings, only surpassed by anchovies. But what is the origin of this dish? Well, pizzas are pretty obscure throughout most of history. The proto-pizza has been the Lebanese meat pie, which the Turks would adopt for their flatbreads, which eventually make their way to southern Italy, especially Napoli. This would involve using dough and tomato sauce and cheese, as we all know. A little later, Italy would unify into a cohesive whole. However, the wars of unification resulted in mass migration of southern Italians and Sicilians that would travel to the Americas, with New York City becoming a major destination. At the time, Italians were considered outsiders by the majority of Northwestern Europeans who were predominantly Protestant, unlike the Italians who were Catholic. However, nonetheless, these Italians would set up pizzerias during the early 20th century, and they became quite successful. Fast forward a few decades later to World War II, and you would have American soldiers not so much eating pizza but fighting in the Pacific, and they came across a strange fruit. That strange fruit would be the pineapple. It provided vitamin C, necessary for sailors and soldiers alike, as well as being really tasty. American servicemen returned home with an interest in Polynesian culture that they had interacted with, at least those fighting in the Pacific, with hula hoop surfing and tikis all becoming popular, along with, of course, the pineapple. The Hawaiian pizza, however, is not actually from Hawaii, or any Pacific island nation for that matter, nor is it from Italy or the United States. It's from Canada. That's right, Canada. A Greek immigrant by the name of Sam Panopoulos, of whom I'm mispronouncing, immigrated to southern Ontario, and in the waning years after the 1950s Polynesian craze, set up his own pizzeria during the 60s. This Greek immigrant owning an Italian restaurant in Canada took a liking to Chinese food, as the dishes oftentimes had sweet, salty, sour, and savory flavors all at the same time. He replicated this by adding ham, bacon, and pineapple, along with tomato sauce and cheese. This idea spread out throughout the rural town of Chatham, Ontario, across much of the province and to the rest of Canada, and eventually took the southern neighbor by storm. The main reason why Sam chose the name Hawaiian pizza probably had to do not so much with some fascination with Polynesian culture, but rather because the brand of pineapples he was using came from a company called Hawaiian, because it was from, well, Hawaii. Major American pizza chains like Pizza Hut, Domino's, and Papa John's also adopted this ingredient, although whether it came from the same company is a different story. Eventually, Hawaiian pizza, which wasn't really Hawaiian and still isn't Hawaiian, would eventually spread across much of the world due to these big chains, eventually finding their way back to the Pacific and becoming particularly popular in Australia. These are the same people who put beets in their burgers after all. Today, Hawaiian pizza has become one of those subjects, kind of like transgender politics or the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, that just brings out the worst people across the spectrum with the loudest voices and the tiniest brains. However, regardless of whether or not you like pineapples on pizza, and I personally don't care either way, its existence as a dish, with far back origins in the Middle East, recent origins in Italy, invented by a Greek guy in Canada, inspired by Chinese food, adopted by the Americans, and spread around the world across some of the most remote places on the planet, and named after a remote chain of islands in the Pacific, is a testament to the power of globalization.